Hi everyone, welcome to my overview of the game Total Warhammer 2. It's a pretty fun game. I've been played over 500 hours of this, and it's a real-time strategy game. It's currently available on Steam, and let's jump right in. Alright, so we have a couple different options we could play. There's downloadable content, which I can get the Regiments of Renown, which I already have. Then you can go to options, there's graphics, sound, control, game settings, pretty self-explanatory. And then you can go to battle mode where you can try out, so for instance, if we go to quick battle, you can do that and then you can find other people to help play with, and it's a multiplayer kind of S to it. Now my favorite part is the campaign. So I have many campaigns. You can do a multiplayer campaign, done that with a couple of my friends on occasion, it's a lot of fun. I would say this game is more cooperative than competitive. Multiplayer is fun, I hear, but most of the time it's funny just to kind of make a lot of stuff happen, like we'll get into in the game. So click on New Campaign. There's two different kinds. You can do the actual main campaign right here, and then you could do the Mortal campaign from the first game, all the races from that campaign, and this campaign go into here. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the Mortal Empires campaign.
I fight for the greater good.
Alright, so probably first time here you're like, what is all this? Okay, so we walk you right through it. So each, there's many races that are in this game. For instance, you got Beastmen, Chaos, Vampires, Orcs, one of my favorite factions. You got Wood Elves, humans that specialize in like horses and stuff. You got Dwarves, humans, Undead, Tomb King, Nest. It's a new faction that just came in a couple months ago. You got the Norsican, which is like a barbarian faction. You got the Skaven, who are basically like rat-like. They like to sneak around a lot. These are what they look like. Then you have Dark Elves. Then you have Lizardmen, which is just one of my other favorite factions. And then, of course,
We
you have the
must
High Elves.
preserve this world.
Now, so I'm just going to pick one at random, and we will go through the game rules and a couple turns of how the game works. And it's pretty vast. I will... Let's go for something familiar. We'll go for Orcs. So this is one of the 4 heroes you can pick. You can pick from Grimgore Ironhide, as like the Slaughterer, Snarsnick. I haven't played him before, and I don't really want to. Considering the initial challenge rating, it's kind of hard. And then Warzag, he's pretty funny. I played him for a while, and he was pretty fun. So I was gonna pick him. And so orcs, they have their race attributes. They have a lot of cool stuff they can do. If you are raiding, that's a stance you can do, which we'll explain further when we get into it more. They can call upon additional forces, as it says here. They can go underground, which is rare. I think the only other factions that can do that are dwarves, Skaven, I think. That's pretty much it for them. So you get additional starting units for your army. This is kind of like you can build up armies and you have lords just like this. And so you have a couple units. You get a Black Orc unit, which is a pretty powerful unit. You get a catapult and then some cavalry, Orc boys. Here's some of the faction effects that when you pick Grimgore, he gets. He actually gives a pretty like upkeep difference, which helps with so pretty much in this game you have you have to worry about economy versus your military, because military costs money, and having this certain amount of upkeep. Getting those minus 10% is actually pretty strong in the early game, and also having the movement range is pretty good as well. And also Grimgore, if Black Orcs for instance are in his army, he actually makes them stay in the fight longer with the leadership, and then they have a higher armor, so they take less damage. Alright, so let's start the campaign. If you want to read that, you can. I've read it many times to read it aloud. overall, the game is pretty balanced. It's got a lot of different armies, so you'll get that occasional like, oh, this unit's too overpowered, or this unit. But there's always a unit that can counter another unit, which I like. It's just a matter of what you're fielding in that, excuse me, certain army at the time.
Black Crag is yours, my brutal lord. The Badlands beyond lay open for conquest. This area is dominated by tribes of inferior greenskins. On the plains to the west, Rotgut's Red Fangs mass against you, angry at the loss of their stronghold. Proving your utter superiority over Gorfang should be your first calling. Vanquish the Red Fang, and tribes of lesser orcs will flock to your banner, freeing your mobs to look further afield for lands to conquer. The stunted dwarfs that dwell in the mountains around you should provide plentiful quarry. Your enemies are belligerent and won't
I
necessarily
forget how
come
long
down
this
to
is.
your indomitable will. They need to be tamed, broken, or annihilated.
Okay, so this guy is so let's after this. So you have missions. You can have for instance, there's regular missions like defeat an army, the following faction, the Red Fangs, and you can, if you want to know what faction it is, you just go and click on the diplomacy or the 7 hotkey, and you can go to the Red Fangs, and the yellow is their province, and then you can look. There's an army right there, right where we are. There's a bunch of other stuff. A couple ways you can win the game is, for instance, if I go to the options. Well, you didn't give me an option. Hold on, let me find something better. Okay, so this is good. So here's a couple different things you can do with diplomacy-wise. Let's let that stupid guy keep talking. Orcs are not necessarily a diplomatic approach. They're more like, I'm gonna hit you and kind of keep hitting you, kind of a faction. So if you want to play a more diplomacy route, I would go with the High Elves. Um, so you can do a non-aggression pact, which basically says you don't attack me, I don't attack you. Military access, you can move armies through each of our provinces, no penalty, because there's a penalty if you trespass. Defensive alliance, just say for instance the Bloodspear faction got attacked by another faction. I would call to their aid and help them as it says. Military alliance, on the other hand, is whenever I go to war or he goes to war, I have the option to join the war, and it's pretty much more of a military alliance as it says. And then join confederations, pretty fun. You basically bring them into the fold. So say if your faction's really big, and you want to just don't feel like fighting this tiny little area, you could just say, hey, join my empire, and then they'll like come, and then you'll get all their forces and all their lands and everything like that. You also can make payments to them, join war. You can tell them to join war, or they'll join war. It's kind of like a give and take, like your offers, your demands, treaties, etc. So that's how they play, which we already discussed beforehand. So let's go to real quick. Let's go to the characters. So this is how it is. Your army selection. So, um, uh, yeah. So let's get sorry. So you have your lord. This is Grimgor. He's pretty much our strongest lord in our empire. Then you have your fighting units. I don't know if they're alphabetical. I'm assuming they are probably not, but I think it's most of the time like depending on the unit type, because this is like an axe infantry, sword and shield, a spear. You got your archery units, and then you got your cav, and you got your catapults. A lot of different factions do a lot of different stuff. For instance, orcs are more generally like, I'm gonna charge at you and kind of hit you, and then hope that you die, kind of in a sense. So so yeah, let's go to the character menu. So this is kind of his gear you can have. He's got any cool items, followers and banners, which help overall in your faction. And he's got traits, his traits and everything, and his info, and then battle effects, campaign effects. And here are his stats. So armor how much damage less you take. Leadership is how long he'll stay in the fight. Speed is how fast he is. Melee attack is how successful chance to hit. Um, Melee defense is how hard he determines the chance of him getting hit. Weapon strength is if when he hits, how much damage he does. And then charge bonus is say if he's charging. It'll tell you when you're in the map, which I'll show you. You get a melee attack and damage buff, which is pretty good. So skills. Now you see these right here. They're locked because the quest will automatically begin at ranked 8. So it's weird. This is the only weird thing I don't like is that you have to I like that you have to earn the gear, but I wish they would be unlockable right when you start playing so you can go achieve that. So like for instance, this is his two-handed axe, which is, let me zoom in here, is this thing right here. And he's got his armor as well he has to earn. So Gitsync, you have to it unlocks at level 8 and then level 13. Here are a bunch of different skills. You can be more of a intimidating kind of encouraging your battlefield. This is what this tree is kind of about. Encouraging, like when you're in battle, you can encourage that. And then this is the more affecting the campaign as a whole, like reducing upkeep, and increasing your fightiness, which is a big thing, which we'll explain later. I generally, when I play him, I normally just go for the top two, and then kind of try to spec into here. Not too curious. I like Lightning Strike because when you're getting fought by multiple armies and you don't want to fight them both, you can do this and enable striking before reinforcements are present, which is actually very beneficial. So you can knock out one army and then kind of run away, which I like. I don't worry about these two. I'm sometimes get hatred, but he's already got a crazy amount of weapon strength already. 500. That's abnormally high, even for any lord in general. It's like getting hit by a truck, but yeah, like a truck pretty much. And you can get melee missile resistance, but he already has that at 15%. So it's kind of like whatever you kind of want, I guess. You want to pick. Alright, so, oh, that little old guy, I forgot to mention. He's your advisor, and you can, if I go to the menu, no, here. So you can actually brought him up here in the advisor tab, or you can actually go here and go to options and game settings, and you can add advise frequency, you can make it super high. It'll tell you about how to do the game and everything. There's a lot of different stuff you can do. Let's go to a battle. So we have to attack Nash here. He's an army. Hopefully he doesn't run away. And so you right click to move, and you just right click on a person with a sword icon. And now we're in battle deployment. So I have this banner, Da Immortals. I can never say that right. So it gives them your Black Orc units. If you notice how this highlights when I hover, you put that on him. It gives you +5 armor, +6 melee defense, and +10 leadership. So basically makes these orcs a little bit better on top of his benefit. So it kind of makes it a little bit better. And then you can see his enemy forces. He's got Orc Boy squad, and then he's got a Goblin squad, and 2 archery units, 1 Orc, 1 Goblin. These hit harder than these. And then you got a nice tiny wolf chariot group, and then of course his lord. So if you don't feel like fighting, you just retreat. You can auto-resolve it. So how auto-resolving works, how I normally do it is, so say this yellow bar is how good of a chance you have facing his army versus his. It can change drastically depending on what troop size you can have and what kind of troops you have. I generally don't do it if it's like this, because you'll see when we get in that this will go to here probably, or a little bit better. When you're actually playing, you have a better chance of winning. And then if you want to do that though, you lose a fixed amount of troops, but it's if you're in a hurry, you're off to go to work or something, you're I'm just gonna finish it and just do that. So, or you can just fight the battle manually. And then what I like to do is you can scout terrain. So see, we have a pretty flat, looks like we got a little hill here, pretty flat plain though, good charging lanes that we can use for these 3 units. And then you can also say if you have to leave or something, you can just quick save it and then exit the game, and it'll bring you right back up to here. So alright, Let's load in. This is your loading screen. Gives you some tips and kind of tricks on occasion. Generally, if you need some tips and tricks, I would go to YouTube though, where I'm going to be uploading this. There's a lot of information about this game. This game's been out for about a year now, so there's plenty of ways to kind of get good at the game, and a lot of different ways you can look at the game. Alright, so we're in. So we pretty much are in deployment zone right now. So here are your units. Here are your Black Orcs. They get all riled up when you get close to them. Here's your Lord. And then here's your, honestly, my favorite catapult unit, because they actually it's like a guidance system. They actually, it's kind of funny. I'll see if I can get a good one in there. They actually put like live ammunition on like gliders, and they just launch them. But yeah, it's a little weird if you kind of a first time playing. But it's a lot of fun. So what I like to do is put your melee defenses in front. Now for high elves, I generally put the range in front because their range is super far. So like say you have a unit like this. See how, oh I can actually show you a little bit better here. So you see how this arc of fire right here? That arc of fire? So that arc of fire for the high elves, there's about, I think 90 of them. And they shoot to like right over there. So like I think their range is 100 and yeah, this is range 115 and there's like 180. So it's like that's math, come on, 65 more units of range, which is pretty crazy. So I like to put the range in the back for these guys. Goblins are pretty squishy. And then I put the cav out for a flank. And then I put Lord right behind him. He likes apparently say my name. So, and yeah. So there's a few options that the range have that are different. So you can do scrimmage mode. So say when they're getting charged at by say the chariots, for instance, but they're ranged, so they probably wouldn't do that. But say they're getting charged, they would actually start running away without you telling them to. But what I like to do is I just toggle that off. You just click it off, and then you just toggle it in guard mode. And then honestly, it's not hard micromanagement when you're playing. I mean, maybe when you get like, because you can have 20 in an army. Maybe when you have like 5 of these, it's a little different, I would say. I think it would be a little different though. Actually, I want them here. Oh, so you can actually group them. So if you hit Control and then just click them, or I think if you, no, you have to hit Control. Yeah, you have to hit Control and then just hit the group icon. It groups them. I think you can have up to 12 per battle, and it kind of makes it a little easier. You can lock it so they're in so this fixed stance is what they'll be stanced at. There's a lot of different stuff that happens when you lock it. So for instance, if I didn't lock it, if I didn't lock it, they would all kind of just go all over the place. But if I lock it, they kind of go down the lanes that I picked them as. So let's start the battle. Alright, so the battle has started. You have an hour to kind of play. Generally it ends around the 50-minute mark. Not this army size, but bigger. So you right click to attack and see how they kind of go their lanes. So they're now starting to walk. And so Grimgor is more of a lord killer. He kills lords a lot better than anybody else. So I kind of just having him target this guy over here. And I'm using the movement keys as WASD if you want to know. It looks like he's turning around. Oh, so you have different options here. Let me pause it. So you can pause, slow motion. This is good for screenshots. And then play. You got fast forward and fast forward. If you want to just like, if you know you're going to win kind of a thing, you're just like, I want to get it done. This is what this unit, the Goblin Doom Driver things, they shoot like actual, let me get a close up here. Yeah, they shoot actual like people because there's so many of them, they don't really care. And they literally just glide in, like actually are pretty decent at gliding in and hitting the target that you want to hit. So yeah. And then, so if you, with slow motion, so see how they kind of move a little bit and then They just kind of slam the ground. Yeah, they die, but it's all right. It's just a game. And then see, they kind of cause a lot of problems for their leadership because getting shot at by cavalry is not too happiness. It's not much. It's not fun. So let's move the cav up. So we're getting ready. We're almost in there for. Oh, you can actually do run speed. So for instance, if you wanted to slow them down, they'll start walking. If you want to speed them up, you can speed them up as well. Oh, keep forgetting. Gotta bring up the. So yeah, they won't move unless you tell them to. They will open fire because I have this toggled, but you need to actually move them up to get them in range. So you see how they're picking now? And now see they're charging, so you can see the charging thing on the bottom there, and then there are a lot of stuff. So combat has started. It gets pretty gruesome, I'll say. So I'm actually gonna flank them. Yeah, let's do that. So what I did there was, if you hold shift and then just right click, you can actually draw a route for them. Because I just want them to attack that. And so they can flank them. Flanking's pretty big in this game, I would say. It's pretty big. This cav, I don't like orc cavalry. You got to get pretty decent. Like, there's different levels and upgrades for cav, but honestly, this is a lot better. And see, look, they're just bulldozing right through. See, that's fun, but like that early game, that's fun. But when you get back, it's kind of weird. And you can see the bar up here is how good I'm doing. You can show allied troop count, enemy troop count, the total max, and then how much you're actually killing them, and if you're actually doing a pretty good job. So let's just speed it up here. So it gets pretty fast paced. And we just pretty much, yeah, it's pretty fast. Right click to attack, and they'll keep attacking for days. So just do that. And my lord just spanked that lord pretty hard, so it'll give you a notification. So we won. It'll give you a different levels of success. It doesn't really matter, but it's kind of cool. You can save the replay if you want. And that is a battle. You can get pretty large. I think the largest I've played with is I think I had 6,000 versus like 8,000. That was a lot. That was a long time. That took about 20 to 25 minutes. So you can get pretty long. But depending on how well you play though, it's pretty different. So after the battle, orcs can do a lot of different stuff. You can ransom the captives and you get some money out of it. But that fightiness thing, so orcs, if they get their butts beat, they kind of get sad. But if they're winning, they get happy, and them getting happy actually does a lot of stuff, but the fightiness is, getting a -3 is bad. You can slaughter the captives and get a leadership bonus for your guys, and then you can eat the captives. And you can actually replenish troops. You see how that yellow spot kind of comes up? If you do that, it gives you some extra replenishment. So I'm just going to do that. And see, we completed our mission. Mission issued. We got to capture the occupied following settlements, Iron Rock, which is this settlement right here. It's pretty well defended. It's got 7 units in here, and then it's actually got a garrison size of 5, which is not super high, but it's high. And this is the city menu. So this is my city right here. I own the capital of this province, which the province, I think, is this little chunk right here. Yeah, like this little chunk. So from these 3, and if you earn all these 3, you get a commandment you can do where you can issue, like, so say I want more construction costs to be less for my building. So you can do that. There's different ones for each. I'm going to finish off the rest of my movement for this lord. Back him up. Get some healing going. He actually got a level up. So we're going to do that. I normally do this tree first, because you get a nice recruit rank bonus. So when you recruit new lords, they have a fixed level. They start at level 1, but doing that they start at level 3, which gives them an extra, I think, 2 skills. So let's go to buildings. So this is your main settlement. This is like your main building. You got your infantry building. Then you can go to the building browser. This is a resource. They have a resource there, which you can tell if they have it right here on the side. Means it's special of importance to a certain faction, aka me, the Greenskins. Um, and yeah, so this is a landmark, which is the special importance. You can get pretty powerful bonuses if you build these. These are your different infantry. So this is your basic all the way up to the Black Orcs. It takes a while to get up there. You need a level 4 settlement, which takes a while. It takes me normally about the 30 turn mark to get to there. And then you got your cavalry, and then that gets even better when you get the spider. Then this is your orc boy cavalry, and then so you get the nice big ones. And then you got the new one that just came out a couple months ago with the Tomb Kings, no, not the Tomb Kings, the Sword of Cain expansion, the Squid Herders. These are pretty powerful. I have never used these before. I haven't played Orcs in a while. So, but yeah. And then, oh yes, you have your military support. So like your catapults, your shamans or magic users. And then you got your giants and trolls, which is your heavy infantry that do a lot of damage. And you have your infrastructure. So you have this is the orcs main pile of shiny stuff. They have bad English. This is your main economy buff, and if you want growth to get your settlements bigger. So for instance, you see this growth right here. So after you hit that threshold, you get a surplus, and then you need. So for instance, you need to get level 5. You need 5 surplus in total, which takes a good chunk. And then this is how much you're getting from the settlement, and then corruption. There's a lot of different stuff like vampiric, chaos, and Skaven. A lot of bad stuff happens. If you want to, I'll leave it there for a couple seconds if you want to read it. And then provincial faction effects. So I'm just going to hit this. You left click to upgrade, and it's going to take 3 turns right here. Then I'm going to add a growth thing. Will give me plus 20 growth and increase the replenishment. And then I'm going to recruit some more units. So this is recruiting regular units, and this is recruiting their special units. They're specialized, and they unlock when your character hits a certain level, and it's your main character, I've noticed. It doesn't have to be another character, and they get pretty crazy. So I'm just going to do that. I'm going to recruit some orc boys, and then that's about it. So we will end the turn. And then the other people start going. This probably will start running away because we beat them. Or on occasion, generally this unit will come down. Hopefully that won't happen, but we'll see. Oh, we got a war declared. I'll tell you when people are at war with each other. And see, I told you it happened. So pretty much, I'm not really looking to fight right now. I mean, we probably could, but I'm not looking to fight. I don't want to show you guys another battle. I would fight this. It's a pretty even match, but I'm just going to retreat and see if they run away after that. And then it tells you your army withdraws, but we did not recruit those extra orcs, which is very kind of sad for us, but hey, we're okay. So I'm just going to move my guy back to my garrison I'm in, and we'll just recruit. I'm just going to recruit some orcs. Let me give you some rundown. So this is your total income. You get a background income. Every faction except the Tomb Kings. Tomb Kings don't have really a lot of income. And then you have extorted income, which is basically taxed income. And then you have your total. And then you have your army upkeep minuses that. And then your total is minus blah, 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 blah. And then you minus that. And that's how they get that math. And this is your total treasury, how much money you got in general. I think you get a flat 5,000 at the start. Alright, so say if you want to exit, you just hit that. Make sure you save. And then you save. And then you can exit to menu or exit to Windows. You can do options, support, and all that. So that is the review of the in-game mechanics. So overall, the gameplay is pretty fun. I think I've clocked in about 500 something hours. Yes, that is a lot. You should see my Skyrim gameplay. It's a lot, but I have a lot of fun. There's a lot of different ways you can play each faction. So for instance, if you want to go here,
I am Tyrion.
so
Heir
high
of
elves are
Valerian.
very ranged based. They do a lot of defensive shooting and stuff. Lizardmen are more like orcs, but they have dinosaurs, which is pretty cool. Dark elves are more like high elves, but they have a little bit more upfront units. Skaven are sneaky. They like to a lot of technology. So for instance, they have flamethrowers. Oh man, some pretty nasty little stuff. And I just finished playing this campaign, this one. This game was a lot of fun. I'm still trying to finish it up, but it's a lot of fun. You got a lot of cool stuff. Tomb Kings are more of a, they're, how would I put it? They like outnumber you a little bit. They kind of try to outnumber other factions, and then they have a lot of just stuff. They have a lot of constructs like statues that come to life and stuff. More of an Egyptian-esque style of play. Like they have a lot of Egyptian architecture and stuff. Any unique features? I mean, just a lot of like. I think honestly, one of the most unique features would be probably. That's a good one. Oh yes, the lords thing, where you can actually individually. So say if you want one lord to be really good at killing other lords, you can spec them into that tree like I showed you, and then if you want to make him more of like a, I'm gonna help out my army, make my army as a whole better, you could do that route, and then just spec into that if you want to. Like you can specialize. There's a lot of specialization you can do. And what really excites me is when how you have those big battles like the 8,000 versus 6,000. Those are really fun because you're like, I'm gonna win, and you get the really cool. You get a lot of cool screenshots out of it. I like just taking pictures a lot in this game, to be honest. It's kind of fun because there's a lot. I mean, you saw there's a lot of stuff going on. What really bores me though is that sometimes you're like, you move a unit, like it sometimes just gets a little overwhelming when when I first started playing it. It kind of bored me that I had to like not necessarily like learn, like I'm not trying to be like a stickler here, but like I would, what was the word? I would generally be frustrated when I would lose an army, and I would be like, well crap, I lost an army. I wasted all that time. And I'm like, I wish that you get a little benefit of the doubt, like maybe I would lose half or most of your army, but not your lord, because it takes a lot to recruit a lord and get him leveled up. Unless you have the immortality talent, which gives them pretty much they're immortal. But that takes level 20. You have to get to level 20 for that, and that takes a while. And that it just gets frustrating because you have to recruit that whole lord again, a new lord again, then you have to get a new army, then you got to bring it back over at where you were before, and it's just a lot of weird stuff. And games comparing, if you guys have played Dawn of War series, and if you have played the other Total War franchises, they don't really have a lot of competition. They're kind of like in their own right now. They picked up this title, and this title has actually been a pretty decent job, I would say. They've made a lot of money. The first game was I never played. I played a little bit of it, but I wanted this version is a little bit better, which is kind of surprising. And there's a lot of fun stuff that you can do in the game. Honestly, there's a lot of cool stuff, in my opinion. Um, yeah, there's just a lot of cool stuff. A lot of functionality. I think there's a faction for everybody out there, and there's not a lot of other games that can compare. With the huge vastness of it, I would say the closest would be, it's a really old game though, like your old like Civilization and a lot of that kind of stuff. But this kind of takes it to a next further, and the graphics are outstanding in my opinion. Yet, I mean, I would recommend if you're gonna play this, I think it recommends like a 1060. See, I have a 1070, and I actually had to tune down some stuff, some different stuff, and it's a lot of cool, lot of cool stuff in general. Well, that is my review of Total Warhammer 2. I hope you guys liked it, and see you guys later.